Hey everyone, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome back to another live Q&A. As usual, I'm going to start this off explaining how these work for anyone that's new, and then we're going to jump into some questions about healthy, eco-friendly vegan living. So these Q&As happen every Saturday. The times fluctuate a little bit depending on what's going on that day and if I have guests or not. And today it's just going to be me answering all sorts of questions about vegan living. So get them ready if you're watching live. If you would like to ask your questions and you are watching live, you need to do that over at Google+, and you can find the link to that on the EcoVeganGal Facebook page and Twitter page, or you can just go to google.com/+EcoVeganGal. And I invite you to follow that page so that you know when these Q&As are happening. I usually set up an event so that you can RSVP to it and be notified and stay in the loop about what's happening there with the Q&As if you like watching them every week. And everything that you will hear about today will be in the YouTube description field. So once you've watched the video, or if you're watching the recorded video right now, you can look in the YouTube description field to find every link that I mentioned, including to this event here. So what else do we have here? Also, asking questions. I love hearing your voices. So I would love you to ask a question using SpeakPipe, which allows you to record a voice message that I can listen to myself and play. I don't have to play it. I can just listen to your voice and then read the question. You can be completely anonymous if you'd like. It's whatever your preference, but I personally would love to hear from you. And that link will also be in the YouTube description field. What else do we have here? Oh, and of course, some of you find that you like to listen to these instead of watching them. So every week I turn this into a podcast, an audio podcast for SoundCloud. So within the next 24 hours or so after the video has aired, you will get a link to that, and that will also be in the YouTube description field. And for those of you who don't have a ton of time and want to jump to specific questions that you see based on the title or the description, if you scroll down in the YouTube description field, you can jump to specific timestamps, so you don't need to watch the entire thing if you don't have time. So just a few quick announcements. I just want to say thank you to everyone that was part of the Epic Living Retreat in Costa Rica that ended today. And I taught my Eco Living workshops virtually, which went so well. Some of you may have been listening to that or watching that via the video recordings. We did live streams. We may be making that available after the fact. So if you missed out on it, if you didn't have a chance to get the video recordings, keep in touch. Let me know in a comment field below, and I can see if we can arrange something. I'm not quite sure what the plan is, but thank you for everyone who was supportive of that, who was involved with that, and who maybe just returned from Costa Rica and is watching the recording of this. It was so wonderful, and I'm now inspired to teach the workshops that I did as some sort of live or recorded version of that. I taught 3 different workshops about eco-living. One was all about food and the eco effects, the environmental effects of the food that we eat, and all sorts of tips to have a healthy, eco-friendly food regimen. And then I talked about fitness, so how to turn your whole workout to be something eco-friendly. And my 3rd class is all about body care, cosmetics, how to find eco-friendly, non-toxic products for your body. And all of this was so wonderful to research and teach. So if anybody watching right now would love to see this as a recording or maybe even as a live webinar, let me know in a comment below and I'll see if I can make it happen. A really quick note, if you missed out on that but want to join and see me in person and get involved with the vegan community, meet more vegan people, don't forget about the upcoming vegan cruise. It's called the Vegan Vacation at Sea, and that's happening at the end of October 2014. I will link to that below as well. We just finished a sale for that, so if you didn't take advantage of it, stay tuned. There might be another one or not. It's actually really affordable for a 7-day vacation in the Caribbean, and you get to see me do food demos along with Jason Robel, Chandra Moskowitz, the vegan zombies from YouTube, vegan black metal chef from YouTube, and Miyoka Skinner, who makes incredible plant-based cheeses. So it's really, really fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it. I also wanted to give a big thank you to Benji and the McDougal newsletter. They featured the Food is My Healthcare shirts in that, and it was such an honor. If you haven't read about Benji's story yet, I'll link down below. He has an incredible weight loss story based on the plant-based diet, eating whole foods. I don't think he even eats oils. It was super, super clean diet, and he took a picture of himself in the Food is My Healthcare shirt and in his old pair of pants. Let me see if I can pull that up for you, actually. I wasn't prepared to do this, but let's see if I have it somewhere on my desktop. Let me take a look. It's such a cool photo. I know I have it somewhere, but the question is where? Maybe I'll pull it up in a little while because I might have to dig around for it. But it was just such a great... Oh, here it is. That was easy. Okay. Let me pull it up for you. I love, love, love this photo, and Benji is the sweetest guy. He's got a great website that I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's been documenting his journey, and I think so many of you will be inspired by him, men and women. Let me pull up the picture so you can see. Oh, okay. There you go. At first it looked really stretched out, but now it's showing it nice and realistic looking. So. Isn't that incredible? It's really amazing, and he was featured in the newsletter this week, and it's just so great that his story is getting out there, and he's spreading the word about how a healthy plant-based lifestyle and diet can influence your health in so many ways. And for those of you trying to lose weight and looking for a healthy way to do that on your body, he is such a wonderful example of that. He was literally twice his size and was able to achieve his healthy weight loss through just a really healthy, clean, plant-based diet. So props to him, and like I said, I will be linking to more about him, and I just want to give him another verbal thank you for wearing the shirt and promoting that. I'm honored, and that's really what the shirt is all about. It's encouraging people. Speaking of which, my father sent me a great link today. I wasn't prepared to show this either, but it just occurred to me. My father is a lawyer. I don't know if I have this on my iPad. Let me check my iPhone. He sent me over a link, a really, really great link to, I think it was from Harvard University, and they're doing something about food being medicine. Yeah, it is at Harvard. Let's check this out real quick. I'll give you the real quick summary of it. This is from Harvard Law, and it says health reform should support nutritional counseling and medical meals. And the Center for Health Law and Policy Innovation of Harvard Law School released this report. And I haven't had a chance to read it all, but here's a great quote. "We are at a unique point in time when new health policy reforms, both within and outside of the Affordable Health Care Act, have opened the door for the inclusion of innovative services that both improve health outcomes and ultimately reduce healthcare costs." Let's see where else. Our report identifies opportunities within our healthcare system for integrating and reimbursing specific food and nutrition service interventions that can help move us towards reducing health disparities, promoting health, and reducing costs. For critically and chronically ill individuals, food is medicine. With adequate amounts of nutritious food, people who are sick have a better response to medication, maintain and gain strength, and have improved chances of recovery. This goes on, and I haven't read this all yet, but wow, I mean, that is great. And I don't know quite yet what type of food they're promoting, but given that there's such a rise of the plant-based lifestyle and diet for people, and now various health insurance companies and hospitals are starting to promote the plant-based diet and encourage doctors to actually prescribe it, I think we're really moving to such an incredible point. And that's really what the Food is My Healthcare saying is all about. It's not saying it has to be your only healthcare. What if we could partner our healthcare with healthy food and it's part of your healthcare? A lot of people assume that it means food is your only healthcare, and that's actually not what I entirely believe. I believe that it can be in the majority of your healthcare, but there's still room for the healthcare movement, health insurance companies to be part of it for things like accidents and crazy things that happen in our life. We never quite know what's going to go on, and we do need to see the doctors every once in a while. So that's exciting, and I will share the link to that article down below if you want to read more about it and look into that story again. I have just breezed over it, so I have a lot to learn about what's going on. Speaking of weight loss, going back to Benji for a moment, one thing I wanted to recommend to you, every week I like to recommend a product or something that I've been checking out recently, and I recently started reading this great book all about how basically it's about the mindset involved with weight loss. And it's really interesting. The weight loss topic, I feel like, is something that a lot of people ask me about, because I feel like people come to a healthy plant-based diet, a whole foods plant-based diet, oftentimes with concern and desire to lose weight. And for me, for those of you who know this, maybe some of you don't, that was a big draw for me, and one reason why I really stuck to the plant-based diet is because my body transformed so much. And I learned so much about my health and my body as a result of going vegetarian and later vegan. So it is really close to my heart and something that I'm passionate about, but I also want to promote it from a very healthy mental standpoint. So if you're looking for not just the steps towards what food you need to eat and what changes, I think a lot of people look for these kind of quick fixes when it comes to weight loss. A large part of it is what's going on with your mind, your emotional state, with your heart, however you want to call that. And so this book that I want to talk to you about today is called Stop the Torment, Conquer Your Relationship with Food. It's by Joyce, I believe Lillis is how you pronounce it, and this is really a wonderful resource. I got it in ebook form, and I believe you can get it in book form, and I'll link to that down below. I want to read you some of the highlighted sections that I've done, and I highlighted this book a lot, so let me see here. So, surrender does not mean surrendering to anything you want to eat. Surrender means listening to your physical hunger. The more you deny your true hunger by disassociating from your natural biology, the stronger and more intense food cravings become. If you have dieted over the years, you've lost the ability to identify with your physical hunger. If you are not listening to your physical hunger, you have learned to listen to your inner food voice. That voice is the sound of your constant negotiation over what, when, how much, and why you choose or refuse to eat. Once you get in touch with your physical hunger, your body will instinctually choose healthy foods. Your body knows when it is satisfied, so even if there is food left on the plate, your mind will signal you to stop eating. If you surrender, which means listening to your natural biology, when you've eaten enough food and feel satisfied, you will actually eat, digest, and metabolize the exact amount of food your body can handle. Control and willpower, in my opinion, do not work. Willpower is the ability to delay gratification, resisting short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals. Willpower is a limited resource and only works to the degree that it is the strongest force within it. Since temptation is also powerful, it is impossible for willpower to work 100% of the time. We are human, not superhuman, so willpower eventually falters. So she has a lot of really interesting perspectives like that in the book. And let's see, another good quote is, exercise only allowed our inner food voice to get stronger because we believed we could eat more food and just exercise another hour to take off. Oh, she's talking about how in the 1980s exercise took off and people started thinking that if they just exercised enough they could lose weight, and it wasn't really about their food. And so she's basically saying here that a lot of people would still maintain their weights or gain more weight because they were hungrier after they worked out, right? We have been conditioned to believe certain foods are good and other foods are bad. Who set this up? The world operates in a million shades of gray, so how can we judge ourselves in black and white terms? I love this. It is so, actually this is a whole other point, not related to weight for me personally, because I feel like this is a big topic I want to address about how people want to find the good foods and stop eating the bad foods. But the more and more I learn about other people and what they're eating and hear all these different perspectives, there are so many shades of gray when it comes to food, and we just don't operate in black and white terms. If we did, we wouldn't really even be having this discussion right now, would we? What else do we have? I'll read you a few more parts, and then I'll let you pick up this book. But let's see. Any other good parts? There's a lot in this book, and it's a really quick read. I think that the advantage of reading a book like this is just starting to feel more in touch with yourself, like she was saying, listening to your intuition and your actual body. We have lost so much sense of that, and no wonder we're gaining weight. We give into food cravings and addictions, and we've been marketed so much that we've just lost our sense of what really is the fuel for our body. That's a huge mission of mine, is to introduce people to that consideration that it's not about needing certain foods. Most of us just eat because we want it. And there's another great quote that I've said before is, we don't eat foods because we like them. We like foods because we eat them. So when you get used to certain foods, perhaps because somebody else introduced you to them or you were marketed to them in a certain way, you're really just eating them out of some sort of habit, right? Or some sort of craving you've developed over the food. And so many people think that they don't like foods, but that's because they're not eating them on a regular basis. They're foreign to them. And we need to give food a certain amount of time, a trial, before our palates can actually adapt and we can really make a full opinion about it. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why people struggle with losing weight, but also why people don't want to eat plant-based foods, because they might seem foreign. If they're used to eating animal products like dairy and meats and all sorts of processed foods that have animal products in it, of course a clean, whole foods, plant-based diet is going to seem really bland, or it's going to seem really boring, when for me it's taken a lot of time, but now I can feel satisfied over the simplest foods. And because my palate is satisfied, I'm satisfied all around, and my health improves and improves from there. So I really recommend this book, and I will link to that down below for you to check out. And it's a small publisher. I don't think it's self-published, if I remember correctly. But it's a small book. It's not going to. You're probably not going to see this in the bookstore. So it's really great to support small authors like this and learn and get a whole new perspective on it. All right, let's move on to your questions. For those of you watching live, you can ask questions in a little bit. I'm going to open it up to you once I get through these. And you're going to use Google+, so google.com/+EcoVeganGal, and there's a Q&A box. I want to remind anyone that is on YouTube that I will not see your comments until after the recording. So if you want to ask a question, please ask it over at Google. And also to use the Q&A feature on there. If you just leave a comment on the event page, I won't be able to see those comments till afterwards either. However, I will still get to them. So anyone watching later or asking questions in the wrong place, those all get cataloged into the list for future Q&A. So eventually I will get to them. So let's start off with a bunch of questions about food. I was really inspired by the food category today, so we're going to have a big emphasis on that. Sydney asked, if I go to a restaurant and I order a veggie burger and I ask if there's egg in it to bind it together and they say, I don't know, should I still order it or find something else? And a similar question came from username Doggy Mama, who asked, how far would you go as far as questioning the server at a restaurant regarding ingredients in a salad dressing or other vague type additions to a dish when dining out with non-vegans? So this really comes down to your personal comfort level and personal choice. I think that there is absolutely no reason to feel embarrassed or ashamed of really asking a lot of questions. And if the restaurant doesn't know the answer, it really comes down to you either continuing to press, because sometimes they just need to go to the back and read the ingredient list of something, and they might just not want to. And you could also just decide to get something that you really, really basic, like maybe just some fruit to tide you over and then eat after the restaurant. I think a lot of people are very concerned about making a fool of themselves, making vegans look bad, embarrassing their friends. And this is such an interesting thing because it really is this whole category of questions I receive on a regular basis about social situations. And I find it fascinating because why are we so embarrassed about our lifestyle choices? Why are we so concerned about what other people think of us? Ultimately, you are making a decision to live a vegan lifestyle, to eat a plant-based diet because of your health, because of animals, because of the environment. Whatever reason you have, you've made that decision, you've made that commitment. So why should you be ashamed of that? If this is something that you really believe in, it doesn't matter if you're around other people who disagree with you. You know, they can make fun of you all they want, but if you are embarrassed about it, if you're ashamed of it, that's all about you. That's just an ego thing. That's just coming from a place of like insecurity. So it's really up to you to own that and to learn to be confident and sure of it. And remember, if you're at a restaurant and the waiter is seemingly annoyed with you asking questions, again, who cares? It's their job to for less of a better word at this time, serve you, right? They're a server. They're waiting on your table. And it's their job to help you decide what you're going to order. You're going to be paying them. That's part of their wages. You're probably going to be tipping them. And maybe you'll tip them more if they go an extra mile, right? So they should be motivated to find out the answer. If they're not, you can just go stand up and ask another waiter. You can ask the manager of the restaurant. Or again, you can choose to just not eat at the moment. You can just get a drink. You could just have something light, like I mentioned, fruit or something more obviously vegan. But I just think I used to have this mindset too, and I know a lot of vegans do. Well, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But this is your body. This is you choosing to put food into it. I actually ran into this last night and went out with a friend, and we decided to meet up. We were going to go to one place, and I picked that place because I wanted to get some organic tea. And we ended up going somewhere else. We got there, and every question we asked, the guy just didn't know the answer, and he just didn't even seem to care. And I eventually got like laid back on it, and I ended up getting some tea without knowing if it was organic or not. And I was okay with making that decision, even though the whole reason I want organic tea is to avoid any chemicals that might be in my tea, right? So I compromised my standpoint. It's a little bit different than eating animal products, but I'm still really passionate about eating organic products, right? How do I feel about that? Well, I don't think I did this to appease my friend that I was with or to, you know, not make a big deal at the place. I think I just wanted to get my tea and relax about it, right? So I had to stand back and make that choice about how I felt comfortable with not knowing exactly what was in my food. And sometimes we're going to do that. Sometimes we make those decisions. But I think that as long as that's just a confident decision that you're making, not a I don't want to stir things up type of a thing. I could have easily have asked the guy to go in the back and check about the teas. I just didn't feel like it at the time, I guess. But in hindsight, after talking about this today, I realized I really did compromise my values there, and maybe I should have just had some water and hung out with my friend, because that was really why I was there in the first place. And then I could have gone home and had some organic tea at my home. So we always have that choice. If a lot of times we go out to eat because we want the company. I always recommend vegans carrying around something in their bags with them, in their pockets, or maybe something having in their car that they can eat in kind of like an emergency situation. Maybe you want to have a food bar. I know someone that keeps food bars in his glove compartment. I usually have something in my bag or my purse with me. So if I ever get really hungry and I don't have another choice, that food is there. So you might want to do that if you continuously find yourself in these positions. But I do want to encourage everyone to feel really comfortable and confident. And, you know, the whole bullying and making fun of vegans topic is something that we're all going to have to address at some point. And that may not be within your control whether people do that to you or, you know, kind of pick on you for making a big deal at a restaurant. It really comes down to you just having that inner peace, and no matter what people say in front of you, just feeling that confidence and not even needing to react, but just taking that deep breath in and saying, you know, who cares that they're making fun of me? I'm vegan. I'm glad I've made this choice, and I'm going to stay firm in it no matter what anybody says. So I think that ultimately you just have to see what your comfort level is. If you want to ask a ton of questions at a restaurant, go for it. If they're going to make an impression on vegans in general for being too hard, like, that's their own thing. And to me, that's just ridiculous that restaurants do that anyways. All right, moving on. And by the way, I would love to hear your own opinions on all of these topics. So please leave comments below about your feelings, and to anybody who's curious about this, read the comments and see what other people are saying on YouTube. If you leave a comment on Google+, those don't translate to YouTube. So unfortunately, you have to ask your questions on Google+, but leave your comments and be part of the conversation on YouTube. Sorry it's so complicated. I wish they did a better job at melding it all. Moving on to the next question, Debbie asked, how can I get over dairy? Examples, cheese, milk, sour cream, and mayonnaise. I've tried the alternatives and they are so gross, I can't shake the mayo. Well, I think that it comes back to what I was saying earlier about our palates just needing time to change. I remember when I first went vegan, this was also 11 years ago, so food was completely different. But I remember just being disgusted by plant-based cheeses. Now, I don't know if it's just because my palate's changed or because or things have gotten so much better, but it's amazing. There are cheeses out there that I feel like are so similar in taste and texture to the dairy versions. If you're you have to remember what dairy is. Dairy is actually has a natural addictive property to it, and the reason behind that is it comes from cow's milk, and cow's milk has what is it? Is it morphine? I think it is, but I'll double check. Don't quote me on that one. It has a component in it that is meant for the calves to keep coming back in order to make sure they're getting enough nutrition. So cow's milk is naturally addictive, and that's why a lot of people have trouble shaking things like cheese. Eggs, not so much. So with mayonnaise, it might just be like a texture thing. It might be like a memory people have, or as an association with something good, like sandwiches. I love sandwiches with mayonnaise. Of course, I use a plant-based mayonnaise, but they definitely add an extra element. And if this is just something that you enjoy having on your sandwiches or various dishes, of course you're going to still feel strongly attached to it. I think the best ways to do this are to continue searching for alternatives. There are many different mayonnaises out there. There's Vegenaise, which some people call Vegenaise, and that's by Follow Your Heart. Earth Balance makes something called Mindful Mayo. Both these companies have soy-free vegan mayonnaises too. Just Mayo came out from Hampton Creek Farms. You can make your own mayo from cashews, which can be really good and also can be raw. And I'm sure there are other ways to do it. Just look up for recipes, look online. I'll link to these products I've mentioned down below that you can purchase on places like Amazon. And I just would continue searching. Same thing with cheese. There's so many different cheeses. I'll link to a post I did a few years ago about all the different plant-based cheeses, and there are even more. That list needs to be updated. Sour cream can also be made from cashews. And there are a variety of different types. I think Tofuti. I think, does Daiya have a sour cream now? Maybe Daiya just has a cream cheese. But these just keep going, expanding and expanding. And if you still don't like any of them, see if you can find something else, or just wean yourself off of it. Remember, you don't actually need this food. It's just satisfying to you because you're used to it. One thing I really love as an alternative to mayo is garlic spread. There's a company, I don't know if they're across the country, and I'm not sure at all if they're in other parts of the world, but this company is called Majestic Garlic, and they make a raw garlic whipped garlic spread, and I love garlic, so having that an alternative to mayo is amazing, and I use it in raw and cooked dishes. But you can make this yourself. I haven't quite mastered the recipe yet, but it's very traditional in, I think, Middle Eastern cuisine. So if you look up like garlic spread recipes, it's basically garlic and oil, so it's still got an oil base to it. I would say if you're looking to go away from oil, look for something cashew-based or make it yourself. A similar question, username NowAndThenEH89JW asked, what can I do to substitute bacon, as I'm a bacon addict? Well, there are so many plant-based versions of bacon. and they're almost always made with a liquid smoke. So you could take almost anything and make it yourself into a bacon experience. The popular store-bought alternatives to bacon are usually made from tempeh, which is a fermented soy, coconut. You can now get amazing dried coconut bacon, and the popular company right now is Phony Bologna's. I'll link to them as well. Those are the two very common forms, and they're widely available, especially the tempeh bacon. There's another company called, is it Smart? I forget what the full name is. Again, I'll link to it. They make a bacon, but that is maybe soy or wheat based. And there's a vegetarian but super processed bacon from, I've even blocked, Morningstar. I wouldn't recommend that though. It's just insanely processed. It's got sugar. It's got GMOs in it. It's a little much. But if you need it as a transition, try that for a few months and then wean yourself off towards something else. It's definitely a step up from bacon, but health-wise, it's not something I recommend. You can also make bacon out of eggplant. What else? There's a whole list of them, and I'll link to this as below. I was going around Facebook, and it was all of the different types of bacon you can make. They're really just different textures added with a little salt and liquid smoke and maple syrup and soy sauce, and it's so easy to make. It'll take you 5 minutes. I would recommend playing around with a few different recipes and trying some of the plant-based options. You can get them shipped to you, so even if you live in the middle of nowhere and you don't have access to a Whole Foods nearby, you can still have it. And congratulations for wanting to move away from bacon. That is amazing. Bacon has got its grasp on so many people. All right, the next question comes from Christy Lee, and a similar question that I will read right after that. How can people with fructose intolerance be healthy and entertained on a vegan diet? I'm only able to have low fructose fruits and vegetables in small quantities, select gluten-free products, and that's about it. I can't have legumes, onions, or garlic, spices, soy, nightshades, fruit juices, or anything besides water, and virtually no grains. I really do want to be a full-time vegan, but finding it hard to let go of organic eggs and tuna, as I am extremely restricted and struggling immensely right now. Jamie asked a similar question. This weekend marks 2 years of not eating meat or dairy straight for me and my toddler. Her toddler recently had a blood allergy test done, and results came back that she is really allergic to cow's milk and dairy, but she's also allergic to beans/lentils. What do I do? So first of all, I do want to let everyone know that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have a medical background. This is all coming from my own research and from personal experience. But I did want to answer this because I have a lot of personal experience in this topic. However, I always recommend that you cross-reference everything with your own research and going to a medical professional. So you might want to see a dietitian, a nutritionist, a holistic or health-minded doctor, seeking out as many resources before you come to a conclusion so you don't risk your health. Make sure that whoever you're speaking with has a lot of knowledge in that and not just opinions. So the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I have a lot of food intolerances, and it has definitely shaken my life up. However, it has also really improved my life in a lot of ways. So my history with this is that when I first moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago, I suddenly had all these allergic reactions, and that coincided with me being a relatively new vegan. However, I had been vegan for at least 6 months, maybe a year before. Like I said, I'm 11 years on vegan this year, and I wasn't sure that it was the vegan diet that was causing it. So I went to doctors, and I got blood tests, I believe, and every doctor I talked to, they just never had a solution. They thought it might be seasonal allergies, maybe because I had recently relocated from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I tried everything. It was a nightmare for years and years, and I just gave up at a certain point and just lived with it. I eventually started taking nasal steroid spray because that seemed to be the only thing that could keep my allergies at bay, but still constant struggles with that. And I would research it, and it was just so frustrating. And then somehow, the biggest thing that helped me was, number one, I started irrigating my sinuses with a neti pot, and for some reason that helped tremendously. So if anyone having an allergy can relate, I would recommend trying that out to see flushing it. Also doing things like enemas. I have yet to do a colonic, but any sort of irrigation out of my body helped. But what also really helped was when I stopped eating gluten. And I also stopped eating soy because I started to think maybe that would explain digestive issues I had. So in addition to having these nasal issues, I also have had a lot of digestive issues for about 10 years. When I stopped eating soy and gluten for the most part, those issues went way down. And in addition, I lost a lot of weight. So clearly my body was reacting to this. However, I later started to figure out that I had some other sensitivities. I was very tuned into it. I realized corn, organic or not, made my head really itchy, so I get like these breakouts on my scalp whenever I eat corn. And when I have almonds, I also have the nasal reactions, so I cut out those two as well. And I'll have these every once in a while as treats. I'm not full-on allergic, right? But it sounds like Jamie and Christy Lee are talking about true allergies. So the reason I can really relate to these in addition to that is that I'm also really sensitive digestively to legumes, so pretty much anything, which includes soy, lentils, any type of beans, chickpeas. Anytime I eat any of that, I have digestive issues. And I've also started to notice weird sensitivities to other foods, sometimes garlic, onion, and recently I started researching this and came across the fructose intolerance. So this is something I'm starting to explore and really trying to cut back how much fructose-based foods that I'm eating. And I understand that it can feel frustrating. However, if this is the way that your body is reacting to foods, I would so much rather eat a very simple diet than constantly have itchy skin and allergic reactions and digestive issues. It's miserable. I feel my best when I'm eating super clean and simple, but that doesn't mean I need to feel deprived because there's so many different ways around it. So Jamie's a lot easier, right? So her toddler is allergic to dairy and also allergic to beans and lentils. There are so many options around that. I mean, so many vegetables, so many fruits, different types of seeds, nuts, grains. It's on and on. Gluten, it doesn't sound like she has a gluten allergy, so there's so many great wheat-based products. To me, that is super easy. While legumes are great because they have a lot of nutritional benefits, such as protein and various other vitamins in it, you can still achieve those through eating a wide variety of vegetables and seeds and nuts and grains and on and on. So I don't think cutting out beans is a problem at all. I rarely eat them because of my digestive issues, and I still feel like I have so much variety. Sometimes I feel a little bit sad, but you know, it's just you get used to it like anything else. Now with Christy, so Christy can only eat a few gluten-free products, but no legumes, onion or garlic, spices, soy, nightshades, fruit juice, and no grains. Well, I would say looking in and getting a list together of all the fruits and vegetables that you can eat. Since I'm new to this whole fructose intolerance side of things, I don't know any of those off the top of my head, but I will soon. This sounds like similar to FODMAPs, FODMAPs, which stands for something. This is something Sayward, who was on last week, was talking about. I'll link to an article about that. That's a lot of new research is coming out about that, and it turns out people think that a lot of people are sensitive to fructose, and that might explain why people are getting on this whole gluten-free train. So for me, I'm really fascinated about that too, because it's not just gluten that I'm sensitive to. So what do you eat? Well, what I've been doing is I've been having I've been focusing on seeds and vegetables and fruits. Now I'm still learning again about the low fructose fruits and vegetables, but For example, one thing I really love right now is doing quinoa dishes. Quinoa is technically a seed, not a grain, even though it looks and tastes and has a similar quality to a grain. So if you're not sensitive to quinoa, again, I still don't know all the answers to this yet, but try that out. I think that you might be able to have brown rice. So brown rice, quinoa, or any other of the gluten-free grains out there, maybe millet, maybe amaranth. There's a lot of different options. Looking into those. But I started with quinoa, and then I took tahini, which is made from sesame seeds, and I made a really great sauce with just some water. And I added in some spices. I'm only slightly sensitive to garlic, so she said that she can't do garlic, but you said you can't do spices at all, but that seems interesting to me because I would think that you could do some different herbs, which can also be great spices and dried or fresh, right? But I'll have to keep looking into that. If you can do some spices, you can make some incredible sauces out of things like tahini. If let's see, can't do legumes, so chickpea miso or soy miso probably wouldn't work. It's really just getting creative, and I find so much satisfaction over a great quinoa bowl with a sauce made from something like tahini, which is what I've been making lately, and just I saute up some vegetables in veggie broth or just water, and I add them in, and it is just insanely satisfying. If you can do fermented foods like sauerkraut, that is phenomenal in these dishes. And just I would look into putting together a list of all the foods you can eat. So stop focusing on the foods that you can't eat, but the foods that you can. And I think it would be interesting, I don't know your history, Christy, but really talking to different dietitians and nutritionists and seeing if they can help you build something together. If you're dependent on eggs and tuna, those are still just two foods, right? I know a lot of people who will eat these products when they're struggling with things like candida or something, but I feel like there are still alternatives, and probably many that are not coming to mind. Seeds like sunflower seeds, you can make dishes that taste just like tuna, for example. I would look more into the raw food and the fruitarian perspectives and seeing if there are any sort of crossovers there, which foods that they're eating, what foods you can, and really just starting to think about all of that. You can also look into the anti-candida diet, which cuts out all sugars, and I've done this before too on the vegan diet, and I was eating lots of things like the grains, like the quinoa and nuts, and just lots of vegetables. I wasn't eating any fruit, any sweets. There was a lot of things that I wasn't eating, but I actually felt amazing on it. And I didn't feel limited because I came up with different combinations. So again, even if you're limited to just a small amount of foods, it's all about how you combine them together. I will continue researching this, and anybody watching, if you have any perspective, experience, research that you've done, please leave a comment on YouTube about this. Again, I'm brand new, and I really want to start the conversation and hear any other perspectives, because this is something that's up and coming in the dietary world, and I don't want people to feel that it's about restriction. I feel like we're all looking for optimal health. People think that not doing gluten and animal products and soy is restrictive, but I never feel restricted because I just focus on what I can have versus what I can't, and to me that makes all the difference. So we'll find a solution for you guys. I'll bring on, next time Juliana is around to do a Q&A, I will bring her on and get her perspective on this. I'll keep in touch with Sayward. You can reach out to Sayward as well and hear what she's learning, and we'll figure it out together. That's the whole point of these Q&As and the Eco-Vegan Gal community in general. Is I don't want any of you to ever feel alone or that you don't have anyone to talk to, you don't have a support system. We're building a support system here so everybody can live the most happiest, optimal, healthy life possible, and I feel like there's always a solution to it. Moving on from there, I've got 2 more questions, and then I'm going to answer live questions for all of you watching. So Doggy Mama also asked, I have a spouse of 31 years, non-vegan, who asked me to pick up non-vegan items occasionally at the grocery store. What would you do this? So far I have, but I'm interested to know how other vegans feel about this. It comes back to that same question about what we do at restaurants, and it's all about your comfort level, but also stating boundaries. I've talked a lot about relationships with non-vegans before, and I'll link to those videos in the description field if you haven't seen them yet. But I feel like you have to just decide what your personal comfort level is. People are vegan for so many different reasons. You might just be vegan because of health, and maybe seeing animal products doesn't really bother you. But if you're really into it because of animal rights reasons, any animal product is probably very disturbing for you. And if you're feeling frustrated with your spouse or anyone in your household that's not vegan, if you're feeling resentful when you have to go buy the products, that's not a good thing either. So it comes down to figuring out what you want, what you're comfortable with, and then having a conversation with the other person to set some boundaries. And if you are very clear about this and you're having good communication with somebody, they can't really hold anything against you, right? We have to just have an open dialogue with people, and this is just the foundation of any strong relationship, is being very clear about what you want, what the other person wants, and how you can work together in harmony. Personally, I don't know. I don't think I would do that. I'm trying to think about that. I haven't been in that position. I did at one time. One of my former partners was not a vegan, and he and I lived together, and I think he had meat in the house and all. This is years ago, and at the time it didn't really bother me that much for whatever reason. But as I've evolved through my vegan lifestyle, now it would definitely bother me. And if I, in the future, live with another non-vegan, I think, I know that I would have that boundary of not having food. One of my previous partners was not entirely vegan, and when we lived together, I was very clear with him that I didn't want, non-vegan food in the house, and he was okay with that because I set that confident level for myself. We had a conversation. It wasn't about, you can't do this, but I'm not comfortable with this. What he chose to eat outside the home was a very different story, and it wasn't about me trying to control him. It was just, if you're going to want to live with me, this is my boundary, and please respect that. So, if you're already comfortable with having that food in your house, you have to decide, though, are you comfortable using your own money, your shared money together towards animal products? Is it just going to be his money that he puts towards it? Are you comfortable going through that process? The last time I bought something non-vegan was when my dog was sick, and the only thing that she could eat for a few days was chicken and rice. And I had to go to Whole Foods and go to the Whole Foods bar and get chicken breast. And I remember, it was such a surreal experience for me. And going to the cashier, I was like, I hope nobody knows me here. What would they think if they saw that? I had all this paranoia going on in my head. But I literally tried everything for her, and all she wanted to eat was chicken and rice, and that's what I had to get for her. It was uncomfortable, yes, but sometimes we do things that we need to do. And right now I'm cat sitting, and the cats are eating fresh chicken products. By the way, there's a really great company in LA that makes the most amazing pet products. It's called the Petstaurant, and they make fresh vegan food for dogs specifically, and they make super fresh omnivore food for all types of animals. And it's still an animal product, but cats are not ideal on a vegan diet. That's a whole nother debate, but some people choose to feed their cats vegan, and most people choose to feed them animal products. And so every day I have to give these cats their chicken dish, and it's hard, but I do respect the fact that it's coming from a good source, and that's a whole nother topic, right? So what type of animal products are you buying? Are these factory farm products, or are these coming from the highest quality sources possible? It's a completely different story when it's animals versus people, but I think you get that, and that's where I can relate, where we don't live in a vegan world. It's not perfect. We have to figure out what our comfort levels are, what our boundaries are, and why we're doing it. And having an open dialogue with people is the best step to really figure out something that works for everyone. And I would love to hear perspectives from anybody else watching in the YouTube comment section. Last question, and then I'm going to move on to live questions. Get those ready at Google Plus in the Q&A application. And the last question here comes from Jules. Do you have any advice for reducing or eliminating household paper products? In addition to being wasteful, I just found out most brands of paper towels, tissues, and toilet paper are tested on animals. Yikes. Yes, I do. I am a huge proponent from an environmental standpoint of using very limited one-time use products. So for paper towels, super easy. You can use any type of cloth for that. So you can buy napkins, you can buy rags, towels, you can turn things into rags like old clothing, old towels that you used to use in your body. So many different ways to do that. There's also a great brand out there, and actually a few brands that are using bamboo to turn into towels. The main brand is called Bambooey, and I'll link to that down below. It comes on a paper towel roll. It looks just like paper towel, and it tears off to the same size as a paper towel, but it's reusable. And I have been reusing them for months and months, maybe over a year now, actually. They last forever, and those are great. You can clean up things on the counter. You can use them as napkins. I also use them as tissues. So for tissues, you can get Kleenex. You can use any sort of materials. I love the Bambooies because, let's see, do I have any nearby? Yes, here's one. This is one for the sink. It's all dirty, but as you can see, this is like for counters and various things. And I hate to show it off because it's so dirty, but you can see how it's same size as a paper towel, and once this needs to go in the wash, I think. So you just toss this in the wash, and these are great for the kitchen, for any parts. The windows, you can use them to clean windows. They're amazing. And toilet paper, that's a little bit trickier. There are some great companies. Another great company is called Bambuza, and they make toilet paper out of bamboo, and they also have reusable paper packaging, so no plastic there. I love them. I will link to them, and there are a few other companies doing that as well. You could find them online. They're a little on the pricier side, though, so it is something. It's an investment, but you're doing a good thing for the environment and for animals. Another option is to use paper made from recycled, or toilet paper made from recycled materials. However, I found out a lot of that has BPA in it because they'll recycle paper that had BPA. So I honestly think the bamboo, as of now, is one of the better ways to go. So I would encourage you to look into that and put a few extra dollars aside every month for that. You could also, technically, with toilet paper, some people don't use it at all. If you want to use some sort of washing system with yourself, having a bidet or something, there are certainly some ways that you can get creative with that. All right, let's open it up to live questions. I'm going to turn up over the live Q&A, and we'll probably spend about 15 minutes answering them. So if you're watching live, get those questions in. So let's see here. Ooh, I've got a lot of comments from one person. It looks like Maricel in Wonder. And I think that these are, for some reason, I apologize, the way that it comes into Google Plus is all out of order. So I'll see a lot of comments from you. I'm going to read a few of them out loud, but I would also encourage you to comment on YouTube so other people can see your questions. But let me see here. She said, first and foremost, thank you for your Q&As. You're welcome. I'm glad that you look forward to them. And you said you have a question on body image, but they're all over the place. Okay. Body image on the vegan diet. I think this is the follow-up. I've been vegan for 1 year and 3 months, and it has made me unexplainably happier than I can put in words. Part of my health experience, though, is that I have digestion and weight issues my entire life. I often receive feedback that I don't look vegan because of my size and body shape. I exercise and eat clean a good amount of time, but because of my health issues, I sometimes don't feel vegan enough. Oh, this is such a heartbreaking topic, and you know somebody who has been doing really great work on this is Colleen Petrick Goudreau. And she has a weekly, I think it's a weekly podcast, and so many great resources. I would highly recommend you check her out, because she's talked about the whole body shaming. my perspective on this, you know, we all come in different shapes and sizes, and it's really easy to compare ourselves to the way other people look, but there's so many factors. Number one is genetics. Even my sister and I look completely different from each other, right? And perhaps it's because one side of my family is a little bit thinner and leaner than another side of my family. And I probably have more genes from that side of the family that's a little fuller shaped, where my sister is more like the other side of the family. And no matter what she eats or what I eat, you know, our bodies have stayed the same. I mean, it's helped me out a lot with the food intolerances, and I encourage anybody who's struggling with weight to look into that, because you might be surprised, and processed foods do a number on us. But I've also found that no matter how clean I eat, I still just have a more shapely figure, especially around my midsection. And no matter how much I exercise, it's you know, honestly an ongoing frustration, but I've had to really learn to find peace with that and to feel loving towards my body, and to look for examples of women that are more full-figured and not focus on all of the really thin people, right? And know that we just have so much variety. And there are plenty of women on the vegan diet that are shapier and they're happy. And there are a ton of examples of women who are proud to be whatever shape they are and promoting that. So I think it just comes down to feeling that confident. And we've talked so much today about not worrying too much about what people think of you. That is huge. That is huge in life in general, but that is really important to the vegan lifestyle and feeling successful and content with that. It's just focusing on what you love about yourself. That book I recommended earlier, I don't know if you were here for that, but it's called Stop the Torment. Here it is again. I recommend it. It's in it'll be in the links down below on YouTube. We just need to feel more at peace with ourselves and get into that mental concept of it. And if you are looking to lose weight in a very healthy mental and physical way, I would look into a book like this where you can really get in touch with your body. But remembering loving your body is one of the first steps towards acceptance, but also weight loss. A lot of us hold negative emotions in our body. So some people believe that we have trouble losing weight because we're hanging on to something. And that's an interesting perspective too. But ultimately, you want to be healthy and you want to be happy. And it sounds like you are in a lot of ways. So keep on that. Keep focusing on that. Love your body as much as you can. Look to people like Colleen Patrick Goudreau and other vegan women and vegan men in the world that are celebrating their bodies no matter what size and shape they are. And I think that we need to perpetuate this idea instead of judging other people based on the way that they look, because we have no idea anything about their history, what they're doing, what their genetics are. You know, it's just there's so many factors involved, and body shaming is not doing anybody any good. And I've certainly struggled with that a lot in my life, and I'm not interested in continuing that. Okay, let's see here. So a few more points from her. I saw somebody else had a question, but it disappeared. What's going on with Cool Plus today? Anyone else watching, please chime in. It doesn't look like there are many others. I'm trying to make sense of these other comments from, I think, is it Murray Sell? I hope I'm getting your name right, but you do have some other comments about, it's so weird that this came in. Okay, so I'll start from here while I'm waiting for anybody else who wants to ask questions or chime in. Just wanted to comment on the restaurant issue on 2 separate occasions while eating with my brother and sister-in-law at their favorite restaurant. I ordered the one vegan item on the menu, which was a veggie burger that had a vegan patty. On both occasions, I was served a regular burger with meat and had to ask for it to be remade as ordered, and specifically to remake the whole burger, as I did not want the rest of the burger because it had liquid/meat juice dripped onto it. Let's see here, from the meat. What ended up happening the first time was that the server was more than generous in remaking the burger quickly and doing it with kindness and apologizing. But the second time, the manager berated me for my request. He was beyond rude and made excuses rather than an apology. The range of our experiences may be different, even in the same environment, and when we question things, we make an impression that may make others react, but it is not our responsibility to cater to everyone before we cater to ourselves. I love this. It is my belief that we have the values we have, and our experiences dining out should be accommodated to just as any other diner's request. Fantastically stated, and I absolutely agree. All right, I have another comment or question coming in from Pippi, who asked, natural remedies for dry, flaky skin on the face. So your skin, this is number one, is your largest organ in your body, and 60% of what you put on your skin is absorbed into the rest of your body. So your skin is also a reflection of what's happening inside. Number one, I would say to make sure that your diet is supportive of, as much health as possible. So making sure you're drinking lots of water. So dryness is the result of not being very hydrated. So I would say drink lots of water, eat foods that are full of water as well. So fruits are great for this. Many fruits are really water dense. And you could add some oil into your diet. Oil can sometimes help with keeping your skin hydrated, or you can just put oil on your skin. Coconut oil is fantastic for this. I love using coconut oil. I actually use a combination of coconut oil and shea butter, and that is like the perfect moisturizer. I make it myself, but companies also make concoctions like this. One of my favorites is called Bare Bones, and they have just this phenomenal cleanser. I think it's coconut oil, olive oil, and shea butter, and it's homemade. But if you want to support a company and you don't want to do it yourself, check them out. I'll link down below. I would say those are the two things, just making sure that you're staying hydrated, that you're eating whole foods that are water dense, and maybe adding a little oil into your diet if you're comfortable with that, and putting on a natural oil lotion concoction of some sort. I would say start with the super simple natural products like coconut oil, shea butter, or you can look into other lotions, but I just don't think that they're not that necessary. I don't struggle with that. I have pretty regular skin, but I think that it's a huge result of my diet. My skin is constantly improving the cleaner that I eat and the more whole variety foods that I'm having. If anybody else would like to comment on YouTube about this, about dealing with dry skin, please jump right in on there. I will give you guys a few more minutes, so I'm going to think here for a moment if I have anything else to say before we wrap things up. If anybody thinks of asking questions after the fact and they don't get to them in time, you can click on the bit.ly link to ask your question for next time. That's available at the YouTube description, as well as on Google Plus and Facebook. It's listed there as well. But it looks like I got one more question, a follow-up from Pippi, which is, I put coconut on my face every night. Awesome. But I do need to drink water. I get lazy after eating so many fruits during the day. Understandable. Another thing is maybe making tea. I'm really into tea right now, and it's so satisfying from a flavor perspective, and you still get the water, and tea can have a lot of benefits from it. So drinking an organic tea that, maybe has like a green tea that has antioxidants, and sometimes there's other things added into the teas that are healthy for you. You can also get creative with water, like adding in citruses. Strawberries are so great in water, cucumber. If you are going to add citrus to your water, my dentist insists that I use a reusable straw, like a glass straw, because water with citrus in it can start to break down the enamel on your teeth, and that's no good. So anything acidic, use a straw, reusable straw, to drink it. But strawberries, cucumbers, those are no problem at all, and you can just chop them up and put them in your water. Earlier today, actually, let me see if I can, well, it might take me a while to pull it up, but one of my friends at Vegan Bodybuilding and Fitness showed off this really cool picture for water infusing. I'm going to pull this up. It's on Instagram. Vegan Body. Here we go. How cool is this? So it's a water pitcher, and inside there's a little compartment, and you can put things in it, so it doesn't actually float around in your water, which some people might not like. This is obviously not necessary, but you know, there's all sorts of different ways where you can just put it in and then eat the fruit afterwards, which I love to do. Okay, and Pippi also said, I don't use any cleansers besides the occasional scrub to exfoliate. I use coconut oil to remove makeup. Me too, love that. And Isabella asked, what do you use to wash your face? I alternate a lot. I often, if I'm not wearing makeup, I usually just splash some water on or put a little, coconut oil on as moisturizer and wipe it in. But honestly, I try out a lot of different products, so I'm always switching things up. Bare Bones makes a great cleanser, and I think it's just water or maybe just vegetable glycerin and rose water, and it's phenomenal. Sometimes I'll use special makeup or natural makeup remover wipes, but honestly, coconut oil is so great for that, or any type of oil, jojoba oil, olive oil can be used for that. I don't have a great facial cleanser that I love, but if I had to recommend one, it would be Bare Bones, and you can order them online. Such a great small company run by someone I've known for years. Zachary Summerfield, Zachary mentioned that avocado face mask could be great for Pippi, so you might want to look into that. And I think that's a great idea. I'd probably want to eat it afterwards. But there are lots of recipes online. You can combine avocado with different things and put cucumbers on your eyes to cool them off. That'd be fun. I haven't done that in so long. And let's see who else. So Elisa asked, what do you do for sunburns? Anything other than aloe? I haven't had a sunburn in so long. There was a product that was an after skin lotion that I was trying out. I'll have to put that link down below. I bet you there are a ton of really great natural remedies for that. Anything really soothing. So aloe is obviously number one, but maybe like avocado could work, or maybe something with cucumber in it. I bet you there are some great recipes online, so if anybody thinks of it, let us know. And yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Some very sweet comments here. Thank you from Pippi and Zafar. I'm not going to read them out loud, but thank you for your sweet words. And Diane just wanted to chime in that she's had trouble with getting Google Plus to work correctly. So I apologize for that. But again, you can always use YouTube. I just might not see any comments or questions at the time. Nothing's perfect. All this technology always has to be a little challenging. Okay, it looks like there's one last question from Karen, and I will give you guys 4 more minutes before we wrap things up. So if anyone wants to sneak in something else, I'll give you that. But I'm going to end with this one if not. And Karen asked, do you have any advice for weak nails? I wonder if my diet is missing anything. It probably is. Your nails, again, are directly related to your health. My nails have been generally really strong. I don't wear a ton of nail polish, though I have been lately. I've been in the mood for it. But if I do wear nail polish, I use non-toxic nail polish. I think a lot of chemicals on your nails can weaken your nails as well. This is something I don't know off the top of my head, but yes, absolutely. I mean, your nails are a direct reflection, as is your hair. The quality of that, the strength of it is very, very connected to your diet. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head. It would be very simple to find this through a web search, so just type in diet, strong nails or something, and I bet you would come up with a lot of great resources and a lot of good food you can add in. And if I learn some more things along the way, I'll definitely come back around to that question. If anyone else wants to chime in with that, please do. And Miriam just asks a question. My son's summer school class is going to the farm in a few weeks to learn about farm animals. I'm going to stop by and chat with the director planning the trip and find out more any details, and luckily I can chaperone. Anyone else run into issues like this? So Miriam, I'm not sure if you mean that they're going to like a farm where the animals are used for animal products, and if you're concerned that they're going to be learning about this and maybe learning. Evie, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know if you can hear her, but but she is very growly at some noise outside. Um, in in situations like this, number one, I would say, if you're not comfortable with your son going to the farm in this situation, or whatever farm that they're going to, he certainly doesn't have to go, right? You could always take him out of school for that time and just let the school know that this is not something that you want to support or expose your son to. If you do want to go to chaperone, might be a really good opportunity for you to educate your son on what's going on there and let him know what you agree with versus what you disagree with, or choose not to promote, and maybe some other children will benefit. It is a fine line, though, when it comes to parents and children, and I think schools are especially sensitive to this. So having a good conversation with your teacher about what exactly is going to happen, I think, is most important. And if for some reason your son has to go and you can't be there, having a conversation before and after your son about what he's going to see and what he has seen, and talking about it, really educating him, this is a really good opportunity for him to start to think about this, no matter how old he is. Having that dialogue together about what is happening at this farm, why you don't support it or what you do support, what's happening with the animals, that could be a really great educational opportunity. And this might be something that he would go and talk to other students, his friends, about, and that can kind of move things along and start a whole dialogue there. I mean, keeping our kids informed, educated, and turning them into creative thinkers and what's the other word? Thinkers that are analyzing, analytical, aware. That is so beneficial when children are young, and this could be a really great opportunity, even if it's something that you might not support. In reflection, when I grew up, I went on all sorts of field trips like that, and here I am now. I remember going to various farms. I don't know all the specifics and what they were like now, but I think as children we love being around animals. I went to a lot of zoos. I don't think I ever went to the circus, but I went to SeaWorld. I went to all these places I would never support now. And when I think about them, I just think about how much I love the animals. And I don't think it was attachment to the place or what was happening with the animals. I just wanted to experience the animals. And there's that innocence there. So I don't think it did anything bad for me. I think if anything, it just strengthened my love for animals. So who knows? Maybe the farm is a good thing. You never know what's going to come out of it. If you can educate them and turn your son this opportunity into an educational conversation, I think you can only get good out of it. All right. So Pippi also asked about B12 deficiencies. My fingertips sometimes get tingly, same for my toes. Been starting to supplement until I can get blood work done. B12 is actually more connected to your brain, as far as I'm aware, and it's all about your brain function. So I don't know about your fingertips and your toes. That sounds like it might be more of a circulation issue, but again, I'm not a medical professional. I would definitely speak to a doctor about this. And as far as supplements go, I think it's very important to get your blood work done, and also go to a doctor to talk about your blood work that is very nutritionally and holistically even minded, someone that really understands how to improve your body with food and holistic modalities, somebody that might be more aware of things like organic, so that they can help you figure out what is going to be the cleanest, most effective, natural way to work through whatever's going on. A little bit of research, you can find somebody. I've gone to a variety of different doctors. One of my favorite experiences was with a woman that had training in both Western and Eastern medicine. So she combined the two and was so knowledgeable about nutritional perspectives. And then if she ever thought, I think you should treat this with Western medicine, I would know that at least she was ruling out the Eastern natural medicine sides and only recommending the kind of like chemical medicine or the pharmaceutical-based medicines when necessary. And those are the type of doctors that are great. I've also been in doctors that have no knowledge of nutrition are just no use there, and they're just used to giving you prescriptions left and right and not really getting to the root of the problem. And with supplements, most of the research that I've done and the doctors I've talked to, dietitians I've talked to, almost everybody says it's usually unnecessary to take supplements except for B12 and occasionally vitamin D, because you can get almost everything that you need on the plant-based diet when you eat a variety of whole foods. So eating tons of really great, vibrant foods in their fresh form whenever possible, that will give you almost everything that you need. B12 is just a little bit more challenging, and vitamin D is usually absorbed from the sun, so if you're not spending enough time out in the sun, that's another thing to consider. But getting your blood work done is going to tell you so much. Just make sure that when you do take a supplement that you learn about the highest quality and the correct amount to get and how often you take it. Okay. And lastly, okay, I'm going to end with this question, everyone. So again, if you have a question coming up, please ask it in the bit.ly link, which is on Google+, Facebook, and YouTube. Will be on YouTube soon. But Elisa asked, what would you do if you had to dissect a fish in school? I'm worried that I might have to, and I don't know what I should do if in the position. Well, you can definitely say that you're not comfortable with this. I used to do that when I was younger. In fact, I remember, I have no idea why, but I remember refusing to dissect any animals, and this is a while ago. This is probably at least 15 years ago, and they would have me do it virtually. So much has changed in 15 years, so it might have even been longer than that I last had to do a dissection. But you do like a virtual thing, and they show you all the different parts that you need to look at. Really, they're just trying to teach you how to, look for the different organs and how they work. It depends on why you're doing it. If you're in medical school, it might be a little different. But it's very, very common for students to not feel comfortable dissecting, and just simply asking for an option, and make sure that you do a little bit of research so that you're fully prepared and you feel confident about it. If your instinct is that you don't want to do this, stick with that. Don't let students or your teacher try to convince you otherwise or tease you about it. This comes back to feeling confident in your decision and understanding what the options are. And I bet with just a quick little research, there's tons of resources. Even just typing in like vegan dissection, PETA probably has resources on this. I wish I knew more off the top of my head, but I know that you can figure out a great option for that. And that's it for today. So thank you everybody for watching and being part of the conversation. I love doing these Q&As, and I'm definitely going to bring Sayward back based on the great response last week. I will continue bringing Juliana back. And I have another guest coming up that's going to talk all about organic eating, which I'm thrilled about. We haven't figured out the schedule quite yet. At another point, we'll be talking about paleo and the crossover between vegan and paleo lifestyle. But otherwise, I'll just continue doing these Q&As based on your questions. I mentioned this bit.ly link, which is basically a form where you can submit your questions, and I have a lot more to go through. So we'll be continuing talking about healthy living, eco-friendly living, and vegan living, and how they all come together. And to stay in touch with everything in the meantime, be sure to visit ecovegangal.com. I've got a lot of product reviews up there. I've got a giveaway ending in a few days. If you want to check that out, I don't have the product with me right now. So there's a lot of different things happening at ecovegangal.com, plus years and years of various articles and reviews and interviews and videos cataloged on that website. To stay in touch with the other people and myself, please join your favorite social media network. All the links down below list EcoVeganGal on Facebook, on Twitter, Google+, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, on and on. So wherever you like to hang out, I'll probably be there myself, as well as other people that are part of the EcoVeganGal conversation. And it's really a place for all of you to talk with each other and learn from each other and help each other. And lastly, subscribe for the EcoVeganGal newsletter so you can get weekly weekly information directly to your inbox, and that is always in development there. Stay tuned for the upcoming ebook on how to eat healthy organic meals on a budget. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe to this as well as the other YouTube channels that I have. There's What a Vegan Eats, which is all about foods that I'm eating. I'm talking about things that I'm making, things that I'm buying and trying. So if you're curious about what I eat on a regular basis, that channel is great for that. There's the Eco Vegan Gal Uncensored channel, which is all about my thoughts and feelings on various topics in the world of healthy, mindful living. There's the Eco Vegan Dog channel, which is all about Evie's adventure and various products and experiences we have there. And there's the EVG Venture channel, which is all about business topics. That's a huge passion of mine, talking about how to become an online entrepreneur and spread the word as a vegan, as an environmentalist, as a healthy living activist. And all of those videos are spread out whenever I feel inspired, so subscribe to that so you know when more content is there. Thank you so much for watching and being here today, asking your questions, being part of the conversation. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday, and have a wonderful week in the meantime. Bye-bye.